Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, AfterBuzz fans! Welcome to another edition of AfterBuzz's Spotlight On series. I'm your host, Megan Salinas, and joining me in the studio is actress and stunt woman extraordinaire, Lauren Shaw.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very good. It's nice and warm over here.
Yeah, it is a scorcher today. It's a little on the warm side. Well, before we get started, I want to go ahead and remind our viewers that if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud. We're on all those different platforms. It really means the world to us if you go, rate, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys, and it takes about 30 seconds. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. Lauren, I love looking at your resume because you've done you've done so many cool things as a stunt woman and as an actress. What initially made you want to go into entertainment?
You know what? It's funny because I think the universe was always gently guiding me in that direction. As a little kid, I was always putting on plays and had a crazy imagination. I grew up in Alaska when I was really young, and I had we couldn't have horses, but I had a whole fleet of my dad's buoys from the boats that I used to pretend were horses, and they all had names. They lived in their imaginary little stables and whatnot. So I think I was always called to perform in some aspect, but it was just kind of a windy road to get back to doing stunt and acting work.
Was there ever a eureka moment, or was it just kind of a gradual journey?
There's been a lot of eureka moments. First and foremost, I started out acting, and then stunt work actually came along as kind of an aside thing. But, I love it, and I feel lucky to be on set doing, either one. But there's a few. The first stunt job I ever did was a precision driving job, and I got to drive in the south of New Zealand for Mercedes. And there was a moment, the first 2 days, I spent being absolutely about to crap myself that I was going to crash this one-of-a-kind car. And then by about day 3, and I had a helicopter zooming over me and fully closed, I was just like, wow, I'm getting paid for this right now. So that was definitely probably the first one for stunt work. But yeah, so many.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question. I imagine that we've talked to a few stunt people before here at AfterBuzz, and they always have some pretty outrageous stories about stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Do you have any particular favorite or kind of go-to when you're at parties and you're like, guys, guess what? This happened.
Oh, boy. Well, there's so many, but what stays on set and on location has to remain on location, right?
Completely understandable.
I did hear a really good one yesterday. Now I'm not first-hand deliverer of this, but this was shared from a fellow Kiwi stuntie actually who worked on Lord of the Rings. It's actually a little bit gross one, so it's a pre-warning. Obviously, all the Uruguay costumes are custom made for the extras and the stunties. This was an extra who did this, not a stuntie, so I'm prefacing it. But he couldn't get out of the costume in time.
Oh no. Oh no.
Everywhere, through the boots, everything.
Oh no.
But it gets worse because he didn't fess up or try and clean it. He just dumped his stuff at the end of the day.
Bolted.
In a poor costume department.
Oh, that's terrible.
So it's not necessarily stunt related, but delivered by one.
No, oh gosh. And I imagine that there are just tons of crazy stories like that. But going back to acting, you have a lot of really cool projects, not only that you've done in the past, but a lot of cool projects coming up as well. One in particular is Mondays at 11:01 p.m. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can. Without giving too much away.
With no spoilers.
Yes. So it's a psychological thriller, and it starts off... it's a little bit of a slow burner, and I would say it's definitely a little bit of a genre bender as well too, because there's plenty of action in it, a little bit of scary movie stuff happening, but and definitely also is going to really make you think and kind of challenge how you see things. So my boyfriend and I are going for a little romantic weekend away, and everything starts off normally. We're doing some shopping as
it usually does, yeah.
And then he's being, perhaps not behaving so well while I'm off shopping, and anyway, we carry on. And then that night, very odd things start happening in the hotel where we're staying. A little bit of parallel universe, a little bit of, you don't kind of know what world we're in, shall I say.
So it's a supernatural kind of thriller.
Definitely has a supernatural element.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your character?
Yeah. While everything incredibly crazy is going on to Charles in the story, I'm probably the grounding center force that he, kind of brings him back down, or that he's trying to get back to in the story. So I'm kind of in the midst of everything crazy going on, and also trying to figure it out myself. So
yeah, it's unfolding. Is it going to be one of those stories where, again, not to give anything away, but when you say that, it always makes me wonder whether it's supernatural or psychological.
I think there's an element of both, for sure. And, I think it'll challenge the audience into maybe, how they see potentially transitions between this world and another world,
I'll get them questioning their perceptions. I like that.
For sure.
Now, you did say this, the magic word for me, which was scary movie. So I'm excited to hear about that now. But talking about scary movies, when I was looking at your resume, I actually saw one in particular that I'm a big fan of. You were in the Evil Dead remake. You did some stunt work on that.
Yes, which was actually a crazy day.
I wanted to ask, like, just on a personal note, because I'm a big fan of that movie series, what it was like being on set.
Yeah, well, look, I'm Rob Tappert, who obviously, produced that movie and also did Spartacus, and I've been lucky enough to being based in New Zealand, work on a lot of his projects. He's amazing. So I came on to do some stunt driving on it, and it was it's the scene in particular where she almost runs herself over.
Yeah, in the car when she's trying to get away from the cabin.
Yes. So it was a little bit of a trust exercise day, because what they wanted, I don't know if you remember the shot where they wanted the rain so heavy in the window, and then at the last second, the wipers clear through the fog, and you see her. So it was literally a driving blind day. So I had a coordinator and a good friend of mine calling out to me, basically 3, 2, 1, stop, because I couldn't actually see where I was driving, and I had the director right behind me going, windshield wipers now, and I'm like, okay, and I'm you don't even know if you're driving straight, so I'm like, okay, yep, all right.
Well, that's one of the most intense scenes in the movie, so like,
it was fun.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear that it was just that intense behind the scenes as well. Now, you've also got another project coming up, Relentless.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, or is that kind of a little bit under wraps too?
I can definitely tell you a little bit more about that, and it's a project I'm super passionate about. It's based entirely on true events, so it's definitely something that I didn't have an awareness of as much until I went to do the project, which is human trafficking coming right out of Central America into the U.S. I think it's something people in general think, oh, it's a problem in Eastern Europe or in Asia, not realizing how much happens right in our own back door. So in this story, I have family ties to El Salvador, and I've sent my daughter down there to basically do some work study, in the summer holidays. And she gets caught up in a human trafficking ring, and it's my journey to basically rescue her back. And so it's a thriller, a drama, and it also really questions, how far would any mother go to get their daughter back? So it's pretty intense, but it was an incredible experience. It was the first time El Salvador had a feature film in like 60 years. So it was, pretty special.
Now, given obviously the social and political issues going on in that particular film, what do you want people to take away from it when they walk out of the theater?
Well, I want them to enjoy watching the film first.
First and foremost, entertainment.
But no, second off, I think that it's a great chance for maybe to open people's eyes a little bit to it. The film is working in partnership with the Abolish Slavery Coalition, which is an incredible coalition working not only to promote awareness about human slavery and trafficking worldwide, but also they have task forces on the ground actually helping with rehabilitation, breaking up, different actual trafficking that's happening, stopping that. So the first portion of my proceeds from the movie actually get donated to that.
That's
That
fantastic.
coalition. So
Now, how involved were they in the filmmaking process? Were they there the entire time to consult and kind of help steer, like, this is how the world works?
Lance Tracy, the director, he worked really closely with them. It's not something that they were actually, on set in El Salvador with us, but they were also, really helpful when it came to this being a lower budget independent, to, opening doors and just to being great partners with us for sure.
Well, that's fantastic. Do you know when it opens? Has that been released?
No, it hasn't been released. Fingers crossed, maybe festivals and theatrical towards the end of this year. So,
Well, no, that sounds fantastic, especially since the proceeds are going, or at least a portion of the proceeds are going to the organization.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, when you're looking at a role for acting, is there anything in particular that draws you to particular projects, or does it just kind of like, oh, that sounds fun?
Do you know what? I have been a bookworm my entire life, and I consume words and books. And so, if I get sent something to read, I read everything that I get sent. And there's certain projects that you think, oh, yeah, that'd be fun to do or whatever. But then there's other projects, particularly like Relentless, where you read it and it's like reading a novel, and it's visceral and it grabs you. And there's just this, I need to be a part of telling this story. So when that happens, you know that there's something magic going on.
And that's where we're like that.
I'm like, yes, yes.
That I need to be involved in.
Yeah.
Is there any, looking back at the stuff that you've done, is there anything in particular that stands out as a favorite? And I know that for a lot of actors, it's kind of like picking children, but...
I was incredibly lucky to work on Crossbones last year, opposite both Julian Sands and John Malkovich. And there were definitely moments on that show coming up against those guys going, wow, this is magic. And just magic in the air, like all the layers that they bring, and getting to, to play with that was incredible. Definitely for me, that was a real highlight.
Now, did you guys actually film out at sea?
Yes.
Hope. Wow.
Yes, we actually did. There was actually a big scene that didn't make it into one of the final episodes, where my character is actually tied to the front of one of the ships and actually out at sea. So that was one of the coolest things, is it wasn't actually CGI. Those were actual boats that came in, that they used them. So it was really cool getting to work in them. Although maybe not for the crew that got seasick. Luckily, I was okay with that. So.
Well, it's really difficult when I've heard a lot of stories about why you shouldn't film at sea.
Yeah, it's probably in the league with not filming with children or animals, I suppose.
It's like number 3 on the list.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But actually, you brought up earlier Spartacus. And a lot of people, that show is near and dear to their hearts for a number of reasons. What was it like being a part of that show?
It was amazing. I kind of came in and out of working in the show from the very beginning one to the last one, depending what else I was working on. But probably was most involved in the last series, and had some dear friends that worked in it. It was amazing. It was really amazing. And obviously Liam, who took over from Andy, I thought he really held the torch high and did an amazing job of carrying on. But it was a very special cast and crew. It was, definitely.
It definitely seems that way. A lot of fans are very attached to that show, and they're very satisfied with the story from beginning to end.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready for a role, when you find that script where you're like, that, I need to be a part of that, is there anything in particular you do to prepare for a role, or do you kind of prefer just getting in on set and being visceral with it?
No, absolutely. I mean, one of my biggest regrets with Relentless was actually that I didn't have more time to brush up my Spanish, because that was probably the most frustrating part. I came straight from Puerto Rico and Crossbones, got the script, I think, the day after I landed, and I was in El Salvador a week later. So I would have liked to have prepared more with that. And also the movie touches on, which I did research, touches on a lot of the history with the Civil War in El Salvador. So I definitely spent time making sure that I understood the context and the backdrop of what was really happening there. But otherwise, honestly, I just try to immerse myself in the story. I have an incredible teacher and mentor, and she sums it up best. You don't learn the lines, you don't memorize lines, you learn the story by heart. So that the more absolutely sunk into the world that you're in, then the more real it is for you, and the more real it is for you when you're playing the story, the more real it is for the audience, hopefully. So
It's more about the
Yeah.
emotional beats than it is about the actual lines.
yeah, I think that if you're truly absorbing a story and it's going into your heart and into your body and into your soul, then the lines come and they become something you're compelled to say rather than something you're delivering.
So for Relentless, is your character speaking Spanish for a lot of the film?
For part of it, initially she was supposed to be quite a fluent bilingual character, but as I got onto set and I was doing my very best, I would have someone say the lines in Spanish and I would record them, and then I would write it down phonetically how it sounded to me on the paper and do my best. But we came to the decision that she could get by. Maybe it wasn't quite bilingual, but yeah.
Well,
Some
no,
of those challenges.
I'm speaking as a Hispanic person,
Yeah.
and I barely speak a word of Spanish, so do not feel bad at all.
And Salvadoran Spanish is I try to like it's porfa. There's a lot of like differences in the dialect
Idiosyncrasies,
and
yeah.
little idiosyncrasies. So I did my best, and no disrespect. But yeah, it was one of those challenges.
Well, going off of that, actually, one of the next things I was going to ask you was looking back at everything that you've done up to date, what do you think has been your most challenging role, either as a stunt woman or as an actress? Or both?
There's so many things that are challenging in different aspects and ways. But overall, as an actress, it would be telling that story of Relentless. It was a very aptly named title. We were shooting 9-10 pages a day, doing 16, 17, 18-hour night shoots with a limited crew. The crew from El Salvador were amazing. Most of them had never worked in a feature film before, so it was an entirely different pace and way of working than commercials. And just the subject matter too was heavy to be immersed in for a month. So overall, as an overarching answer, I would say Relentless. Yeah, but I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, it's not like a lot of other projects where I imagine that you're joking around on set and there's a lot of laughs. I imagine it's not the case with such serious subject matter.
Oh, well, I had lots of fun when we on the downtime with all the crew. I mean, it was pretty much, other than the DP, director, and actors that came in, it was a Salvadoran crew, and they were amazing and hilarious, and definitely looked after me. Almost too much, which is another funny story about on set.
We can save that for another day. It's okay.
But no, it was amazing. But yeah, it was definitely challenging. And then also when I was doing all my own stunts, all my own driving, and Salvadoran roads through the jungle in a double XL manual Ford pickup truck while coordinating everything was definitely a challenge. But it was incredible.
Is there any training in particular you have to do in order to become a stunt person, or is it just kind of something that you're thrown into?
There definitely is, for sure. That's a question I get asked all the time.
I'm sure.
But I think for the most part, most people who get into it, it is kind of like that chance of luck or family or friend, and they generally have a specialty that gets them into the stunt world to begin with, and then maybe they go from there, whether it be a high diver, a gymnast, a lot of girls from circus end up doing like a lot of wire work. For me, it was driving and horse riding, and that was kind of, I knew a coordinator who knew me as an actress and said, wait, well, Lauren used to run a drift company, she can drive, so let's get her into drive. And that was kind of the beginning, and it was just right time, right place in New Zealand when there was a lot of work happening. So, yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. After you became an official stunt person, did you start doing any martial arts training?
I have specifically for different roles. Like, for example, on Revenge this season, Emily needed to know Wing Chun, so I went away and trained with someone who's incredible at that, just to make sure that technically it was, as correct as I could have it. So here and there, yes, absolutely. But I'm definitely not an incredible black belt martial artist, but I can handle myself in a fight. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Revenge, what is it like working behind the scenes for that show? Because that's another show that people absolutely love and people absolutely adore.
No, it's an amazing show, and Emily's incredible to work with. I've been on the show with her since the end of season 2. So lots of fun fights and action, as everyone has seen. But I've been in LA about 2 years, and that was probably the first show that I've worked on. Even though I'm not there every day or every episode, they completely welcomed me and made me feel like part of the family. So I can't say enough about the cast and crew on that show. They really, for a newbie to LA, they definitely welcomed me and made me feel part of everything. So it was really nice.
It's fantastic. Is there any particular genre that you like working with in best? Do you like kind of the more dramatic, like Relentless, or do you kind of prefer a little bit more murder mystery?
I think just getting to share a story, period, is interesting. I don't think that I could lock myself down to any one genre. I think it's just, being part of telling his story, which is why getting to perform it physically doing stunts, but also getting to share it as an actress both hold a draw for me. So.
Well, going off of that, if you could do anything, like we're talking dream project, what would you want to be a part of?
Well, there's so many. I don't know if I could limit myself to one. I would love to do a kick-ass killer action movie for sure. But then there's, there's a bunch of amazing independent dramas that, that speak to me as well too. So I would have a hard time. I would have a hard time picking between those. I don't know that I'm ever going to be the half-hour comedy girl unless I was the one that everyone was laughing at because it was too slow to pick up the jokes. But outside of that, no. I just want to be a part of sharing stories.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, not only have you done work in front of the camera, but you've also done some work behind the scenes as well in terms of being an assistant director. Would you ever want to go back to doing work behind the scenes and maybe be a director or producer?
For sure. Again, I was really lucky in New Zealand to get a chance to spread my wings, and my time actually behind the camera was incredibly influential in shaping who I wanted to be as an actress, and also the things that I didn't want to do, because it gives you a behind-the-scenes, look at everything. I would love to produce one day, absolutely. Just be a part of getting to make sure that stories that I feel need to be told get shared. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, just out of curiosity, I always like asking what people's I get a lot from a person. What's your favorite movie? Just out of curiosity. I know I'm asking you to pick a lot of favorites today.
I know. It's like pinning down favorites. That's a tough one.
I know. It's like asking what's your favorite band or what's your favorite song.
Yeah. Gosh. There's a bunch of amazing New Zealand movies that I really love, and then I always pick and share because they're ones that they're not the quintessential. I think there's always 5 that everyone goes, oh, this, or this, or the favorite movie answers. Did you see a movie Whale Rider?
I heard about it. I haven't seen it, but I heard nothing but good things.
Really beautiful kind of coming of age story, which I loved. Another movie, Boy, by Taika Waititi, is another one that's worth watching. They're not necessarily my all-time favorite movies, but those are a few titles that I would throw out.
That maybe not as many people have seen.
Yeah.
Well, you've done so much, and I hope that obviously you get to do more, and both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. Just for people who are here in LA or people all over the country who maybe want to get into entertainment, who want to do stunt work or get into acting, what advice would you give them to kind of help get them off the ground?
Gosh, I think the advice that I would give to them is that you have to love your craft. There's an amazing book by Rilke, and in the first chapter of it, if you must do this more than anything, then that's your calling. But I think if you truly love your craft and you love what it is that you do and you want to work at it and perfect it, then do it. There's never, I would challenge the people that say, oh, you're too old, or you're too this, or you're too nothing. I don't believe it. If being a part of sharing stories and doing this, whether it's performing them physically or whatever else, then just chase it. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. What do you think is the most, you mentioned you had a very valuable mentor and teacher. What do you think is the most valuable lesson that you've learned?
Gosh. Diana Castle is her name. She's amazing. For anyone here in LA, I couldn't, say enough about her as a teacher and as a coach and a mentor. so many gems from her, but she helps you to be free when you play, and it's basically taking you back to a childlike state of play, where when you're playing in a story, it's very real for you, and it's just like, ooh. And that, folks, is an LA earthquake registering 2.5 in the Richter scale. Except, oh, wait a minute, it was the producer.
There actually apparently was a couple earthquakes the other day.
And it actually freaked me out because it was a short, sharp one. And it was... Anyway.
I didn't feel a thing.
Really?
I had no idea that we had 2 earthquakes.
I got scared and I got a little excited, but yeah. But no, she's amazing, and it's a very healthy way to play. So it's very real for you when you're playing in it, but it also allows you to separate from the story, which obviously dealing with heavy subject matter like my daughter getting kidnapped, and in Crossbones, you find out in a flashback that I've killed both of our children. Ooh. Which is why I'm in an insane asylum when you meet me. So being able to play with that subject matter and have it be very real for me when I'm playing, but also to step back from it, was the most incredible gift. And, she's just definitely allowed me, and, it's just a journey that I'm traveling on, but I just feel so blessed to have met her and, to get to work with her.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, we talked about a couple of your upcoming projects. Yeah. Do you know when Monday at 11:01 is going to open? Or when it's going to be?
As far as I know, I think like October, November is when they're looking at. Hopefully, but I haven't heard any updates in the last little while.
I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of scary movies and psychological supernatural
Lance Henriksen
movies.
is insane in it. Amazing, and Brianna Evigan was a lot of fun too to work with. So yeah,
I can't wait. Do you have any other upcoming projects that you can talk about? I know a lot of times with NDAs, it's not possible.
No, I've got another true passion project that I'm hoping I will be filming. Hoping we're starting New Zealand winter. So I get to A, go home for it. Yay. B, I get to work with not only one of my best friends, but someone who, as a director, I admire so much. It's a project called 44 Below. And again, it's a drama set against the backdrop of a thriller action movie. It's set in the Milford Sound, which is this amazing place in the South Island in New Zealand. And a group of scientists are doing research, and their submarine gets stuck in the sound. Basically, it's an incredibly deep sound. And the story that plays out on board is how do 5 people facing imminent death, like down to the minute on a sub, how much oxygen you have. How do people deal with that situation versus someone trying to come in Milford Sound in the middle of snow to rescue us? So there's kind of the two stories going on.
So a race against time.
A race against time, absolutely. So I'm so excited to be going back to work on that.
You are involved in such cool projects. I really can't wait to see all these coming out.
Thank you.
No problem. Where can people go if they want to go online to find out more about you and about the amazing work that you're doing?
Look, Twitter's always a good one. I try and keep everyone updated while also not sharing every detail of every meal that I have every day. But if you want to know, you're welcome to ask. And, I'm more than happy to post up a photo. But Twitter handle is @_Lauren Shaw. And Instagram is @_Lauren Shaw_.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time
to
come in and talk to us today. I cannot wait to see what these films have in store.
Excited.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. We, as always, if you haven't already done so, go to iTunes, rate, comment, subscribe. We love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.